Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton and I come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Well, the world is just a crazy place. Just as soon as I think I've adapted and things are going to get like a little more normal, they get a little more crazy. I don't know about you, but it's like a roller coaster. It's like living in Disneyland on an e-ride. Are they even open? I think they're going to before long. Anyway, well, I want to talk today about what's real and what's not when it comes to the world of human trafficking. Many of you that listen to this show know that I am the president and CEO of a corporation called Million Kids, Million, Million Kids. It's called that because more than 1 million kids are trafficked each year throughout the world. But some people call it 10 million kids, 5 million kids, 1 million kids, 8 million kids. It's just 1 million kids, okay? Millionkids.org. By the way, we started something around the end of last year that you may want to take advantage of. There's no cost to it at all. But I was looking for a vehicle to educate the public and keep them current. There's just so much misinformation out there. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this broadcast today is what is real and what isn't. What can you believe and what's all the hype and even why is there misinformation out there? But I serve as the president of Million Kids. We've been operating in the Inland Empire since 2008, going on 12, 13 years. Hard to believe. I look back and people say, how did you get into this? I hardly can remember, quite frankly. And it's been a journey. I get up every day and put one foot in front of the other. And it has been an interesting journey. I'm retired, by the way, in case you need a hobby. It's an odd thing to do. But I got started in it because we had a case out of the Inland Empire of a beautiful 15-year-old girl that met another girl, and she was tricked into forced prostitution. This was way back in 2012 and actually happened in one of our high schools. And it was at that point Chief Sergio Diaz, that was the chief of police in Riverside Police Department, and I were working closely together, and he asked me to begin to educate in schools. And it really opened my eyes. I've been doing this since 2008. I started in Cambodia and working through my church mission. And then in 2010, I met a Riverside County Sheriff deputy, a man who is still my hero to this day. Won't give you his name because I want to protect him a bit, but really a wonderful man. And he asked me to be the training and outreach coordinator for this task force. And I said, I'd do that. And then he said, but I don't have any money, so you'll have to raise all your own money and pay all your own way. Now, I never intended to lead a nonprofit. I'm probably one of the worst fundraisers you've ever seen. But what I am is a rabid researcher. And I am absolutely committed to the truth in this endeavor. I remember back in 2010-11, as I was putting the presentations together, and various people would show up and help me and like that. I've been cleaning out some of my old files because I'm just lost in so much information here. And I look back at a lot of those people that stood by me in 2010-11 that would give me a place to talk because there were only maybe 2 or 3 of us in the entire entire Southern California that really began to see what was happening. You see, at that point, I had started out in Coachella because I was pretty sure that we were talking about foreign nationals being trafficked. And certainly that is happening in a, it's very political to discuss it in today's environment. But, quite frankly, people who are brought in without documentation get exploited. And I know that's not a popular point of view, but they have a lot at risk. And, that's what I was doing initially when I was starting with this business was, how can we assist them? No man, woman, or child should ever be sexually violated or taken advantage of through labor. And so I was working on that when we had this case of this girl who was recruited in a high school. And that got my attention. And I began to do a massive amount of research. And since then, of course, just the life experience of sitting with a parent whose child has disappeared and they're being into forced prostitution, and you don't know if they're in LA or Las Vegas or, maybe in Minnesota. You don't know where they are, and you're terrified of what's happening. And you say to yourself, how do I help those families deal with that kind of trauma? And it is a real challenge, quite frankly, but you learn a lot with each one of these cases. I sat with kids who have been violated because they've sent a naked photo and they're being blackmailed, or they meet up with that person and they end up getting raped or exploited. And it's just an absolute tragic situation when you see that. And so people say, well, how did you get into it? I didn't mean to get into it. It's just that as this begins to happen and people come to you because they know that this is what you're doing, you see each individual case, you analyze it, and you try to figure out how to beat it. And I've done that now for well over 12 years. I've analyzed tens of thousands of cases, and that's what our Million Kids Insider Alert is all about, is I take situations and whether it's a new technology or a case of international child pornography, or maybe it's a situation like we're going to talk about in this next segment about all the hype about the Super Bowl and prostitution. Is it real? And I began to try to put the reality of it in there for us. There is absolutely no need to hype this, no need whatsoever. The real event is so tragic and so common that we don't need hype. And yet, there is an organization called QAnon, or Q for short, that is, first of all, they're being attacked by the left. More important, they are hanging the QAnon label on really good people that don't have anything to do with them. And there is a little bit of that with myself. As many of you may know, I am one of those organizations that at the end of last year was taken off of Facebook. And we have to be very careful. We won't be able to promote this show on that Facebook, because if you even suggest that you are, combating any kind of trafficking and you have any kind of a conservative bent, they will hang that label on you. Well, nothing could be further from the truth for me. And it was devastating for us to lose our followers off Facebook. We didn't know what we did, and they would not tell us, by the way. We tried to talk through consultants. We tried to understand. Now we understand that about 70,000 organizations that were fighting human trafficking, I was one of them, was connected to QAnon, and we were all removed. Well, there couldn't be anything further from the truth for me. As time has developed, I am the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. That task force is led by the Riverside County Sheriff Department, by the way. Yeah, yay, Chad Bianco, he's fabulous. He's doing a fabulous job. He just doubled the size of the task force, the Human Trafficking Task Force in Riverside County. But I also support the folks over there in San Bernardino County, because these pimps and pedophiles and predators, they don't care which side of the 10 freeway we're working. They'll pick up a girl in Hemet or Moreno Valley, and she'll be sold over in San Bernardino and off to LA County. And so we have to all work together. But my point is, and I also report to the Department of Justice, So my point is, I don't have to exaggerate anything. I deal with real facts. I believe in the rule of law. I believe in the chain of evidence. I believe in dealing with real cases and real facts. And I have no desire whatsoever to ever be connected to anyone that does any kind of melodramatic numbers or inflammatory conversation or outrageous claims. The reality of human trafficking in our community is real, and they are real cases, and they are our kids and our grandkids. And we must do something to stop it. And we don't have to go to the edges of reality to make it real. This is Opal Singleton. I'm up against that break. I'll be right back.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Hey, there are many good restaurants in the Inland Empire, but really great restaurants are hard to find. Let me tell you about the Toasted Barrel in Corona. It's a trendy, upscale steakhouse with great pasta and seafood. It's a fantastic choice for birthdays and anniversaries or just that special night out with your loved one and friends. Inland Empire magazine has awarded them Best Restaurant and Brunch for the past 3 years. The owners, Ed and Shirley, are friendly and attentive to your needs. If you're a prime rib connoisseur, this place is for you. Go ahead and try it out. The Toasted Barrel, located at 1300 El Sobrante Road in Corona. Or Google them at Toasted Barrel to make reservations. I guarantee you're going to love it. Be sure and tell Ed and Shirley that Opal sent you. It will be a night you'll never forget.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we're talking about what's real and what's not in human trafficking. Well, folks, Super Bowl Sunday is almost here. And I don't know about you, but I'm really looking forward to the game. I got married last year, and my husband used to be a football coach, and in a college or a high school, in a high school. And so he has a big interest in football, and he's been trying to teach me. Good luck. Anyway, he's been trying to teach me how football works, okay? But I'm a Kansas City Chief fan, but I've been very, very impressed with Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay. So it'll be interesting. And besides, it gives me a reason to eat chips and dip, which I know normally would never allow myself that stuff, but we will. But here's what I want to share with you. We're already hearing all the stories about prostitution, human trafficking, and the Super Bowl. And so I've done some research on this. I have some experience working with Super Bowl in the past and trafficking. And so I want to share a little bit of that with you today. So what happens normally is that we have known that in the past, we believe that you get large-scale events of any kind, but if they're planned, they're promoted, and we have known that in the past, pimps have seen that as just an economic windfall. Okay. And we believe that sometimes in the past, they have literally moved young ladies, especially, although it can also be boys, off to the Super Bowl, and that you have a lot of crazy people there that drink and party, and they think that it's okay to go out to get a little prostitution. And so that's kind of the theory of it all. Well, I give Tampa Bay credit. They have a good mayor there, or not mayor, but attorney general there. And there is a real commitment to really going after this for what it's worth. I saw all the articles, and they're all, by the way, I'm doing a Million Kids Insider Alert about this if you want to share it with anybody or see the facts. But getting ready for it, they started running a series of reverse stings. Now, what is that? That is the demand side of sex trafficking. People who go out and think that they're going to have sex when it's against the law. And in this case, they prior to the Super Bowl this last week, they arrested 71 people for what they call Operation Interception. They are doing the stings early on to let you know they are going to be there during the Super Bowl. And there were 71 of them. They're on on the Million Kids Insider Alert. If you want to see what sex buyers look like, there's a bunch of them, and they're all ages, mostly male, all different colors and sizes and whatever. There doesn't seem to be any particular pattern to them, but they did arrest 71 people to send the message that they are not going to tolerate this kind of thing during the game. Now, with COVID, I would guess that the odds of this thing getting really big for sex trafficking are probably somewhat diminished anyway, because you're not going to have the masses of crowds that you normally would have. But what they did is the Florida Attorney General, her name is Ashley Moody, she led the campaign. Now, I give them credit. They're doing this wisely, smartly, and without huge amounts of hype, although they're certainly issuing plenty of press releases so that you will know not to be doing sex buying during the Super Bowl. By the way, this can take place in other areas other than Tampa Bay, for what it's worth. But what happened is they got what we call a multidisciplinary team together to do the enhanced collaborative model. That's government talk for putting together task forces. And they're doing a multiple kinds of campaigns. One of the things that they're doing is that they're doing a huge amount of publicity to let you know they are not going to put up with it, that they will be looking out for any kind of human trafficking and sex trafficking specifically going on during that Super Bowl. And so they put out a whole bunch of undercover female detectives, and that is how they arrested these guys. They were anywhere from age 20 to 62. 8 of them had been arrested from human trafficking charges last year. So a little slow learner there. Anyway, another 6 were arrested for the same charges in 2019. Now, that's beyond slow learner. That's some sort of sex addiction if you think that you can keep getting away with this over and over, but you're still being arrested. And some of them had the additional charge of having a possession of drugs. They have been doing a tremendous campaign everywhere you go, but they're also educating everybody they can. They're educating the Uber drivers and the Lyft drivers and like that. And I'm going to share with you a little bit of what to look for if you think a person is being victimized. Now, these are pretty general. And so the danger here is that you're liable to get into another person's business and they're not really a victim and they will be highly offended. But one of the first signs is the person is controlled. They're maybe being coached or held back in some way. They're not free to interact with you. They seem like something's just not quite right there. They may be appearing to be afraid or anxious or paranoid or even agitated. These people are given quotas. Usually the quota is around $1,000 a night. By the way, they don't get to keep that money. They earn that money and the pimps and the gangs and cartels take that money. And so, if they're behind on their quota, they know their life's in danger. They could get beat, they can get raped. They can have a lot of bad stuff happen to them. So you want to look for bite marks, bruises, burn marks. For one of the punishments is burn them with a hot iron. Look for tattoos. We call that branding. And the number one brand of a pimp on a girl that he quote unquote owns is that brand of a rose made out of dollar bills. Now, if he's wearing it, he's probably flashing money and he is a pimp. But if she has it, she quote unquote belongs to that pimp. And so that is the number one brand that you'll see. Sometimes you see the word king, sometimes the word cream. That stands for cash rules everything around me. And they will brand these girls so that they know that they're not free. The other thing that you want to watch for is if you get an older guy and a younger girl, they have to be really careful of this. You cannot just assume that they're there against their will. But one of the times you'll see a guy with maybe one or two or three younger girls, or you'll see a guy who's like 44 or 32, and he might have a 14-year-old. Those are all pretty obvious signs. Now, if you think you see something like that, do not interfere yourself. Call the police. And let people know. If it's a situation that's going to be ongoing, and meaning you just see something unusual going on at a house or something like that, you can report it to the national hotline, which is 1-888-37-888. But you don't want to get yourself involved. Many of these people are gang members. They are really bad people who are hurting other people. But it is good to try to report it, either through your local law enforcement, or if it's an ongoing kind of thing, through the 1-888-37-888 number, or, simply call 911 if you see someone in trouble. But that is important to understand that this is really taking place. Now, how big is it? Well, I think it's not as big now as it was because of all the education and all the hype that is taking place. I actually worked behind the scenes at a Superbowl in Santa Clarita about probably about 4 years ago. And it was an interesting experience, which I'll share with you in the next segment, okay? It was a fascinating time, and I learned a lot. I approached it more like a research study, and I think maybe that's why I have a different point of view on the thing than a lot of people do. But it is a fascinating kind of situation. On the one hand, we don't want to overhype it. On the other hand, we have to be vigilant. My name is Opal Singleton. This is Million Kids bringing this to you. We are up against that break, so we'll be right back. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer. Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we are talking about the Super Bowl and human trafficking and whether it's real or it's not. Before I get started, though, I do want to remind you that this show is brought to you by Million Kids. We are a nonprofit organization, emphasis on nonprofit. We seriously need your support. If you're willing to help us, we intervene with kids and grandkids and parents and help them at a time when their child is either being blackmailed or exploited or sexually violated in some way. So if you could support us, please go to millionkids.org. So I want to share with you my personal experience, and maybe this will give you some insight as to how I handled these things a little bit different than some people, I guess. But I think it was about 2016. I'm just going to do that tongue-in-cheek. I haven't looked up my records, but whenever the Santa Clarita Super Bowl was held, I had an opportunity to go up there and support the work of law enforcement, FBI, local police, like that. I was basically in a bunker in a room with hardly any windows whatsoever. And my job was to find people offering out sex for sale online. I've been working with this since I was probably about 2010, it'd be when I first started. So to really get a picture of how all this works, let me give you some background about sex ads and sex selling. There was a time, including that time when I was working that most of your sex ads were all on one website called Backpage. And it was kind of like the Sears and Roebuck of sex ads, if you will. My apologies to Sears and Roebuck. I don't want to damage your name, but I was just saying that it was a singular place to go. I did a research study before the Super Bowl about how prominent this was in the Inland Empire. Just in Riverside and San Bernardino, Maine area, not including outlying areas like Victorville or Coachella. In one ad, which was men dating women, by the way, it didn't have anything to do with dating. It wasn't like they went out to dinner. But anyway, men dating women, under the Backpage, there were 96,000 ads. And so that just in Riverside, San Bernardino area, that gives you an idea. It did include Holt Boulevard over in Ontario, though, which is a hot spot. It's also a hot spot for cops, by the way. So if you're thinking of going over there, you might want to think twice. But anyway, and so 96,000 ads, that tells you how prolific it was. And that wasn't a big event, okay? That's just the day-to-day timing kind of deal. And so what happened is when they invited me to come up to Santa Clarita, I wanted to have a good, solid research. I am a bugger about, I want facts. I want provable facts. I want to get the real deal. I am not interested in hyper sensitizing this whole thing so that everybody's in a panic looking for kidnapping or Wayfair or any of the other craziness that goes on out there with Pizzagate and like that. I need to see that there are facts in order to make this work. So what I did is I studied all the sex ads in Santa Clarita for a week before I went up to do this project for law enforcement. And so I knew about how many ads they were, who the common ads were, that kind of thing, where they were promoting and like that. The week of Super Bowl, I did this deal where I went in and every sex ad that was out there, we began to track it down, see who was out there, send out the information to law enforcement and like that. And then the following week, I went back to see how many were there the following week. What was interesting was that because there was a lot of hype, just like there is right now in Tampa, people use it to educate you on sex trafficking and social media exploitation. As they should. I do believe this is a great opportunity for you, the public, to learn the reality that this is real and it is in your neighborhood. But what was fascinating to me was that there was really only about a 10 to 15% increase in sex selling ads during the time of the Super Bowl. And so, considering all the hype, that wasn't huge, quite frankly. Now, I do believe there's a factor, the fact that Santa Clarita, just like Tampa Bay, has literally put in a lot of time and effort to educate you. If you do sex buying during that time, you're probably going to get caught. And this is not a victimless crime. And, watch out for people that might be being brought in, that are being put under duress to sell sex. And so it was a fascinating study because I really didn't see the great increase everybody talked about. However, I also say that the reverse side of that argument is that all the promotion worked, that it got people's attention. Now, what was interesting is when I came back home to Riverside, I mulled over what does that mean? Because by that time I had been studying the regular sex ads. And what I learned is I did a similar project for something like the Coachella Festival. And no offense to the Coachella people, they're not responsible for this in any way. But what I did see is that I studied how many ads were there the week before the festival, the week of the festival, and the week after. And Coachella got something like a 30% increase in sex ad activity during that festival. So that tells me that when pimps and predators know that the FBI is bringing in, and Homeland Security, by the way, which is a tremendous division called Internet Crimes Against Children, that when they're putting all their effort on the big ones, that these guys now are starting to look out to some of the smaller ones. One of the other things that I did is I started looking at places like Ontario Convention Center and the conferences like out in Palm Springs and Las Vegas. And what you saw is that many of these technical conferences, like engineering conferences and that kind of thing, big tech conferences, that the number of ads shot up dramatically during the week of those conferences in those areas. So it is a fascinating thing to be able to look at all of that. What I want you to know is, yes, people are getting violated, and yes, the pimps will bring girls in to where they think that they can get business. And yes, law enforcement is paying attention, and yes, you will get caught, and you will pay a price, and it will be on your record forever. So you have to think about all of that before it goes too far. However, I also think it's a great chance to educate all of you on the reality of this, but also let's be fair about what is real and what is not. I am not interested in any kind of hype. We have it throughout our Southern California. Actually, human trafficking is the fastest growing crime in America, and California is the number one state. We actually have twice as many cases as any other state. Texas and Florida is next. And so it is an interesting kind of thing to follow. Now, one of the things that happened is in about 2018, the owners of Backpage, which was the centralized place where most sex ads were put into, they were arrested for money laundering. If I remember right, it was like to the tune of something like $500 million. Anyway, they've been all off to jail and like that. And so they also changed the laws to say that if you are exploited, meaning your photo is put out on one of those places and you end up being exploited, that you can sue the website that put that out there. And so because of that, the back page closed down, and you developed about 45 other mini back pages. In other words, much smaller in volume. But they went offshore to places like Romania and Bulgaria and Belize and Malaysia and Albania and all of those places. And now they're operated in those offshore places. And I would tell you, do not go on any of those sex ads, not even out of curiosity, let alone the thought of buying. They are absolute filth. On top of it, they're operating in third world countries that can get your information, and even you are not safe by looking at it. On top of it, you go on there and you can get a really serious virus. I happen to have special research programs that I work with, so I'm a little more protected. But this is real, folks. We don't have to hype it, and we need your help in combating it. So we'll talk about it real shortly. We're coming up against that break, so stay with us, and we'll be right back.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Let me tell you about my friend Doris Anderson at Remax Realty in Upland. She is amazing. She's kind, she's patient, but she listens. And she's informed, and she will help you with your real estate transaction in a way that works for you. Doris, in full disclosure, often supports the work of Million Kids because she cares about young people. But she knows how to analyze a market, how to market a property, and how to find just the right transaction for both buyers and sellers. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate or invest in income property, contact Doris Anderson at Remax Realty 951-733-8899. That's 951-733-8899. 951-733-8899.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com, or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
AM 590. The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. If you want to share this show, they're all archived over at millionkids.org. You can share that. If you want other people to hear us on there and they're not in the area, while we're on the air, they can go to www.am590theanswer.com. So what is real and what's not? Well, trafficking is real at any big event, whether it's Super Bowl or anything else. It is absolutely real. There's no doubt about that. But it may not be the way that it's always hyped up. And so I just want to give you the reality of it. The other thing, and this is really, really touchy for me to do, but people everywhere seem to be asking me about QAnon. I wouldn't know them if I met them on the street, okay? They could be my next door neighbor. I would not know. But I do not operate like QAnon does. And quite frankly, I highly resent the fact that Facebook thinks I do, because had they taken just one iota of a moment to look at our mission and our work and all that we had done and quit lumping us into all the same group, they would have known that we serve a very important role in the community. And to lose our thousands and thousands of followers on Facebook was just absolutely devastating and heartbreaking. But the difference here is that many people get all kinds of ideas about how trafficking takes place. For quite a long time, people thought that there was a series of kidnappings going on over at Victoria Gardens. I know the police over there. It wasn't true. Absolutely wasn't true. The Wayfair phenomena that went on, they had some industrial cabinets. They made a mistake of giving them girls' names, and they were selling for $10,000 to $12,000. And somebody equated that they were really selling people, not cabinets. Well, had they done any real research, you would see, because it was based on the idea that no cabinets were $12,000. Industrial cabinets are, okay? And it didn't have anything to do with it. Now, the Pizzagate thing with Hillary Clinton, I'm not personally a fan of hers, but I can't prove that. I don't know that. Now, if somebody has a victim that was part of that, show up. It's just like the Epstein thing. I don't know if it's true or not true, but I deal with reality and facts. And here is what I know. The bulk of our kids are the ones that end up getting violated. Out of sex trafficking, 83% are female and 17% are male, on average across the United States. And usually, many times, by the way, we talk about foreign national trafficking. I've done whole shows on foreign national trafficking. By the way, I'm conducting some classes for Children's Fund, and we give in-depth classes. If you want to go on and get like a 4-hour training, look up Children's Fund, and you'll see my classes on there that I do for them, and I greatly appreciate them. We've developed a really good partnership with me and kids in Children's Fund. But what you'll find is all too often it's our kids who meet somebody on a dating site or one of those hookup apps or in a video game chat room. Sometimes they will meet another girl. Quite frankly, 80%, I got that number wrong, 60% of all girls who are recruited into prostitution are recruited by another girl. Okay. And sometimes they think it's a gift. Sometimes they fall in love with a gang guy who then sells them into a gang. Sometimes it's a boyfriend. And mom and dad are going, I don't like this guy. He's too old for you. I don't like the way he treats you. And mom and dad and the girl get in a big fight. And mom and dad are saying, you're grounded, clean up your room. And he's saying, hey, baby, you're hot. I've written a book about this that we advertise right here on the show called Seduce, the Grooming of America's Teenagers. By the way, if you want to support our work, order one for me. I'll sign that baby and send it to you, okay? That's how we usually support our work before COVID. And it is on Amazon, but they don't give me much money. So please order it from meandkids.org, and I'll send it off to you. But this girl falls in love, and mom and dad are arguing back and forth, back and forth. What is happening is she's getting a fantasy relationship. He's promising her the moon. What's important to understand is that is called grooming. And the mom and dad are not fighting with her, and they're not fighting with him. They're fighting with a fantasy. And when a parent gets in a tug of war with a fantasy, they are going to lose if you don't know how to help unpack that fantasy. And that is how it normally takes place. Now, it can be an adult female, too. They're not all kids. Usually in kids, it starts about the age of 14, where she's getting through puberty, feeling her Wheaties, trying out and taking risks and like that. And if you see that risky behavior, it is not something she's going to outgrow or he's going to outgrow. You need to get them into counseling, and counseling with a counselor that is trained on grooming. That's very, very important to do that. So that's normally how it takes place. An adult, a lot of times it's on an adult dating site like Zoosk or Match. Zoosk or Match. I can't say them. Anyway, and you get that fantasy relationship. This guy's going to come in and rescue you, and he's going to be wonderful. And pretty soon it's not working out like you thought it was going to work out. And that is how it often happens. The next thing you know, is asking you to do things that are very questionable in your relationship. And then pretty soon you have a quota, and pretty soon you're being beat and you're being put out there. The two biggest signs, maybe the three biggest signs that somebody's in human trafficking as a victim. Number one, they're very sleepy. They will often work these kids 20 hours a day, and they get very food deprived. You see somebody who's really hungry, buy them a sandwich or something, because they will withhold food until they make $800 or $1,000 a night. The other one is they will have multiple phones, especially since they changed the sex ads, where you have a lot of different companies offering it out. You may see a girl with 3 or 4 or 5 phones tied to the various sex ads. And so those are what we call burner phones, those prepaid phones. Are not usually iPhones. But if you see your child or grandchild leaning the wrong direction, or you see a situation, two things. One is if there's not immediate danger and you want to report, again, I'm going to give you that number, 1-888-3737-888. 1-888-3737-888. But if you see somebody in trouble, don't be afraid to call 911. You can do that. The hotline number I just gave you can't be absolutely anonymous. And that's true if you think your child is sending naked photos or somebody's harassing them on the internet. You can report it just the same way, by the way. That's very important. Well, I hope this has been helpful. It's a fine line between the reality and, the fact that this is just ghastly business. And it is. I get that. I'm used to it. I work in it. But you may not be. So we don't need any major hype on it. It's real, and it is happening in our community. If you want to support our work as we go out, we sit with parents, we take the calls, we take the leads. We are not 911. We work with a task force. We'll get the information in. But more important, educate your kids. The way you stand against a pedophile or a predator is you decide you're just too darn good for being abused. You're not going to allow yourself to be exploited. You know who you are, what you stand for, and you know that every time you do what's right instead of what's easy, you get character. And that is what we must teach our children. We don't have to exaggerate any of this. This is real, and it's hard business. I want to take the last minute to say thank you to the people that support us. I can't tell you how much that means to me right now. These are the hardest days of our life for me and kids. We have not made a live presentation since March 12th, which means we can't sell our books and it's hard to raise money. But on top of it, more kids are online than ever before. And we're beating our brains out trying to meet all the needs and stay current on all of this. So if you're willing to support our work, please go to millionkids.org, MILLION, millionkids.org. Hit that donate button or send us a check or, give us your old car or whatever it is you want to do, but help us out. We'd appreciate it. Folks, thank you. Put your arms around your kids this week. Look at your spouse and tell them how proud you are of them. You folks have a great week. I'll see you next Saturday, 3 o'clock.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.